Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. And today we're gonna get into these wrist weights. I think is the proper name you would call them, but link's gonna be in the description down below for you to purchase them on Amazon. So I recently, for a while, I haven't had access to a gym, a proper gym the way I wanted to. I had access to one before, about maybe a little over a year ago. And then, so I started just working out at home. Obviously on the channel, we always talk about just ways of bettering yourself. One of those things is always trying to stay fit, at least the minimum amount, at least within reason. I understand people got busy schedules and whatnot, but I do a little something at home just to kind of keep myself like somewhat, in shape, somewhat fit. Now, I was on the search for a new gym, and I'm still going to be on the search for a new gym because now I'm going to have a lot more free time on my hands. But ran into a little bit of roadblock with just kind of, doing my research on what gyms I want to go with, because there's so many different ones out there and so many pros and cons to each different ones. But in the meantime, I said to myself, while I'm on that search, I wanted to jump into getting a couple of wrist weights. This is the information on the label right here. Like I said, it's going to be in the description down below, and you'll be able to see the brand here. Now, like I said, I want to purchase this because in the past I've had wrist weights before, many years back, but I never was a fan of them because they used to always move around on the wrist too much. Then I came up when I was doing some research, I saw how these have the thumb holes, and that actually makes a big difference as far as these not going up and down your arms while you're moving around. Because normally if you have right here, it will go up and down your wrist. But with having the thumb hole, it makes a difference. Now, with these are 3 pounds, they go from 1 to 3 pounds. I've seen a couple of other different brands, but essentially most of them seem to be about the same thing, just different branding for the most part. Some of them slightly different in terms of the way they're designed, but nonetheless, you're getting the same thing. Now, I find the easiest way to put these on as well is to first get them started. Like that, and clamp it on so that way it's got a little bit of tension. Then you slide your hand in, get it on your thumb like that, and now you can pull it a lot harder and then come around. So they feel pretty good. Like I said, because of the thumb hole, you're not really going to be, it's not going to be moving off you much. And this way too, your hand is, the open palm is available for you to grab things and do things. So it doesn't really hinder you at all. It's not an absurd amount of weight. But what I found out is this: after trying them on and actually using them for a day, I will say this. It's interesting how we, don't realize that how much 3 pounds is. Now, I would say go for the weight that you feel that you prefer. Like I said, it goes from 1 pound to 3 pounds. I would say don't discount the 1 pound. And the reason why I'm going to say that to you is because initially you'll say to yourself, 3 pounds, not a lot. And if you are, once you have them on, you're going to feel like 3 pounds is not a lot of weight. It doesn't feel like a lot of weight. I actually have dumbbells that are like 2 pounds each for certain type of exercise activities. And so when you're actively exercising, 3 pounds doesn't feel like a lot of weight. When you are not actively exercising, 3 pounds starts to become a decent amount. Now, I used it as far as going out to the park because I was with my kids. I used it to just kind of go outside. I used it just around the house, and then I used it going driving. And what I'm going to tell you the moments where you feel this the most is now that we're in the era of cell phones and texting all the time or just doing stuff on your phone, holding your phone up to your face like you normally would in your casual, normal texting position is now an exercise. And at first, you don't realize it until you've had these on for over an hour. Now it starts to become where while you're texting, the thumb hole is now like how I had it wrapped around the thumb right there, and you using your thumb is exercising because that resistance on your thumb when you're holding your hands up like this, keep in mind now that that weight is slightly pulling on your thumb. Not enough to where you feel uncomfortable, but enough to where you, when you start moving your fingers forward, rather than this kind of casual, relaxed position. I'm gonna leave this thing partially looped so I can demonstrate if I need to. So if you have it in that position and you're like this and they're like that, essentially what starts happening is when your hands is up like this, let me change the angle of this a little bit. That's a lot better. So when you have it like this, what happens is when you're texting, at first, this is your natural relaxed position with this weight on it. It's not pulling on your thumb, but when your hand is facing upwards like that, there is a little bit of resistance. You don't notice it until you start going like that. And when you're wearing this, and it'd be more resistance if I had this closer to me, but from the angle, my hands are stretched out right now. But you're like this, and then as you're texting, you start realizing over time, after wearing these for an hour, this is resistance, even just on the thumb. But driving, you're holding your steering wheel. I used it for driving, holding your steering wheel. And I'm not recommending that. So I don't want you guys, disclaimer, don't say that I recommended that. If it's something that you can't handle, don't do it. But essentially, you're holding your hands up, and while you're driving, now when you're resting your arms, you're holding on to the steering wheel, but holding your arms up to the steering wheel is now taking energy as well. And obviously when you're steering, it's taking energy. And that 3 pounds really starts to add up. It starts to really, you start feeling it. I wore them, I think it was at least about straight without taking them off, somewhere in that maybe like 3 hour range, maybe. And you can really start feeling it. So they actually are very good, but I would say consider maybe the 2 pound or the 3 pound, because when you wear it all day, and if you just want to save money, buy the one that you feel is fitting for you. If you don't mind doing a progression thing, maybe you can do the 1 to the 2 to the 3. But generally speaking, what I found is getting used to wearing that for a couple hours, what starts happening, especially when I started driving, had my hands up and really, utilizing that. It was interesting. Even when I would say I'd have my phone in the phone stand in my car, if I wanted to press something on it to maybe set up my music or do something on it, reaching out to it with your hands extended like this, that weight created, because keep in mind, when your arms are closer to your chest as the core center mass, it's easier to have control of your hands. When you go like this and now you're trying to press a phone, your hands are going like that. They're shaking because you're resisting the movement, but you need precise, accurate movement when you kind of touch your phone. So you're like this pressing, but it's like you could feel you have to use a lot of muscle just to keep your hands steady. So it's very interesting getting used to that. Another thing I want to also mention, and this is more so about, just the vibe of how it is using this, not so much the review of the product. I'm going to get into the details of the product a little more in a second. Not there's that much to go over, but I started feeling, I guess, from not realizing or being used to this and doing it for long periods of time, a couple hours, I started having almost like it's weird, almost like a sick feeling. Like imagine that your body is constantly in shock. That's what it feels like. You don't notice it because it doesn't hurt you to lift up your arm. It's not something where it's hard because it's just 3 pounds. But there's this sense of your body's always in a state of shock to some degree because it's always using enhanced muscles just to do basic things like move your arm. And I started realizing that I started getting like it wasn't a headache, but it was almost like this weird ill feeling in me where it's hard to describe it, but it almost feels like you just want to lay down. Like you just don't feel good. I can't pinpoint the feeling. And if I could, I know a lot of you guys would probably say you felt that feeling before in some kind of activity or another, but it definitely felt like the body is in a state of being agitated and it starts weighing on you. So that's something just to be wary of, and I want you guys to be cautious of that. I don't think a lot of people are ever going to mention that if they review a product like this, but I definitely want you guys to be wary of that if you wear this for long periods throughout the day, it can start causing, I don't even want to call it fatigue, but it's a irritation on the body because of the fact that the body is in a traumatized state is what I feel. Because you're constantly, it's like, imagine that feeling when you're working out. And when you work out and you work out for a good amount of time, start pushing your body, what happens is that you feel that shock, but then you go into a rest mode. You take, you put down the weights, you rest a little bit, you feel like you're able to kind of recover, and you're not getting that moment. It may not be a strenuous thing, but when you have these things in your hand, on your wrist, it's the equivalent of, in this case, 3 pounds. You're lifting it like 1,000 times per minute. You know what I mean? So at a certain point, it becomes fatiguing on the body. So just be aware of that. With that being said, I do feel that they're as slim as they can be. I looked and I was kind of trying to compare different ones, and they said that they wear pretty slim, and they do, relative to the fact that they are weights. It does wear relatively slim. It doesn't feel like it gets in the way of anything. Obviously, you can't really wear a watch with it. I was able to wear my digital watch over this part of my arm, the upper part of my forearm area. But nonetheless, you're not going to be able to wear, if you're the type who likes wearing bracelets, or you like wearing watches, you're not going to be able to do that for the time that you're using this. And these things could be great for obviously doing exercises with them, where you want to have extra resistance. Well, maybe you're doing something like, jumping jacks, or just jogging, running in place at your home. So things of that sort, they can work good for. If you're just using them just throughout the day, and your mentality is, I want to see if I could just gain muscle just going about my everyday, you can do that, but just be warned that you will be putting your body in some sort of shock with the way that feels. With that being said, you guys, I really enjoyed these. I like the quality so far. They seem nice, no issues with them. The metal features here, or what's the term that they use? I forget the word, but the accessories, well, it works fine. Everything seems great. So I actually enjoy these, and I would say that they're definitely a go. If you are interested in these, I would say pick them up. I paid about, I want to say it was, link's gonna be in the description below. I almost want to say that it was $30, but I can't even remember right now. I think they might have been just a little under 30, or maybe about 30, but I don't think that's bad if these are gonna help you get into a place of feeling more in shape than you have in a long time. As always, you guys be safe, like, share, comment, subscribe, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.